Knuckle Fighting Championship, Tai Emery.
Welcome to Follow the Light. In today's episode, we talk to my dear friend and phenomenon, Tai Emery, bare knuckle fighter. In today's episode, we go through her story, some of the struggles she's gone through in her upbringing that shaped who she is today, her mindset, her experience with ayahuasca plant medicine that transformed her outlook and gave her sense of purpose and calling. We go through so much. So I hope you're excited for today's episode. I'm really excited to share it with you. And without further ado, let's get started. Well, thank you so much for joining the show today, Miss Tai Emery. Yeah, it feels kind of funny to talk to you formally because, you know, we usually talk a little bit more casually and like friends. I know your story, but for those watching, I think a lot of times, including myself, you know, I'll look at like you, for instance, you know, or other athletes or people that have accomplished just like enormous things. And you often think about like their journey or like their story. I don't know if you feel comfortable enough sharing a little bit about your story growing up, you know, maybe the people that influenced you the most in becoming who you are today.
Look, to be honest, I don't think I had too many people that super influenced me. I think maybe the good teachers and the good coaches had the most effect, if anything. So I grew up in a very abusive household. I was abused from as long as I can remember. I was the only abused child, and I always kept that under wraps. Yeah, my parents separated at 8. Yeah, I raised my sister. Man, even just saying that, you know, you kind of like, oh, that sucked. But yeah, it really made me tough, made me persevere, and it made me appreciate like everything, you know, like I really appreciate like my life. I appreciate peace. Yeah, it helped me to just like appreciate everything so much more. Yeah, so I raised my sister from 8. When she turned 13, I think I would have been 14, she left to America to be, cared for from our biological father. Now, remember in saying that, she was never abused. She went because we had nowhere else to live. My mother at the time had decided that she couldn't do anything anymore and just didn't want us in the house. She was never in the house anyway, but that's kind of just like how it went. From there, I went into the system. I say the system just because in each country it's different. For Australia, it's Centrelink. So I had to persevere like through a number of like interviews and stuff like that, which had to prove that I had no parents, I had nowhere to live, and I needed government assistance. That can kind of do that, which is a very small fee. Lucky for me, I lived in a small town. I lived with 2 families. I lived with one family, which was the Wipers. I'm still friends with Darlene today. So love the Wipers and the Connolly family. The Connolly family were just like the most Australian family, kindest family. Mickey, he would take me for motorbike rides, you know, like, and Jeanette always taught me how to like bake and just be kind and loving, stuff that I was definitely not used to. In saying that, I still had to work a job. I night filled. I worked at Golden Chicken. I just did anything to make money because I needed more than $70 a fortnight. I think that's like what, $35, which isn't enough. I owe the Connolly family way more. Hell, I owe every family that ever gave me a meal or some food or their old school clothes or, you know, just anything, like a place to sleep, a car ride. Hell, the Gibb family, they would make sure that I could go and compete. Like just every little thing that kind of like adds up is, a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. I know it's absolutely difficult to talk about, you know, any sort of past trauma, but I think a lot of people can relate, just in general. But I think that
I think more people can relate than not relate, right? And whether if it's on a deeper level, like even for yourself, you were out of home at what, 15, traveling the world at 15, you're a little girl. So we've all had like, it's almost similar stories. And even if it's for somebody else, it's just like the universe gives you these tests at different times. And now look at like who you are as a woman, who you are as a person. I think for both of us, like these things were meant to happen. So people would actually be able to listen. Like for one, I never listen to anybody unless, they've been through some shit. Why?
Yeah.
Because it's not that I don't not have respect for them, but it's their viewpoints and how they problem solve are just far beyond like what, okay, I look at someone and I'm like, oh, this is my problem. They go, why don't you just go buy a new one? And you think to yourself, okay, they have no idea.
So just wanted to ask, as you were saying, because I agree, like as you were saying, so many people can relate and have trauma in their life, and oftentimes like people are embarrassed or ashamed to share it. But I don't know where I heard it said, but it says something along the lines of, in order to be truly loved, you have to be truly known, which means you have to let yourself be known. And in many ways, I'm completely preaching to the choir because I think, being vulnerable, which is like, yeah, is the whole point, is extremely hard because you have to just show everything, But in your case, you seem to do it naturally, which is beautiful, so empowering to yourself, but I think to those that hear, that hear your story and hear how you operate. I'd be curious to know, like what's running through your head, like when you're training. Do you feel like you bring like what's running through your head? Like what are you telling yourself? Because brain training is like 80% of it.
Brain
right?
training's big. Brain training is big. The mind is everything. And my coach right now, Coach Mega, like he can see, obviously, like, okay, I'm pretty good most days. And generally speaking, I'm not thinking of anything. I'm in flow state. I am at peace. I'm just like, and those are my best days. The days that I'm like stuck, I'm not hitting my combos. They're the days where I'm stuck in the past. And those are the days that, I've literally had my coach grab my shoulders and shake me and be like, come on, come back. And I'm just like,
Wow.
For one, because I'm like, oh, finally a coach that like gets it. But yeah, brain training's the hardest. At the same time, I think a lot of it, like I'm a really passionate person, and I got told, like, they said, when do people stop using these narratives or using the why me's and using that as their identity? And I kind of thought, okay, I understand that outlook on it, but I'm sure for you, like, okay, look at you now, you would never think, oh, this was your story, blah, blah, blah. Unfortunately, that's still your identity. You can zhuzh your little hair up, put on your fancy clothes, and guess what, bitch? I'm still going to look at you, and eventually people are going to crawl through and see the real you and be like, oh, you grew up like this. I can tell because of this aspect of your personality. So is that always our identity? Yes, which is probably why I have an authority problem, which is probably why I speak without thinking. Also, because I haven't had parents as role models. So I don't know, like, I've never been told, like, act like this, do this. I've just been able to be like freely be myself, which is that's a powerful thing in itself. And I love how people, like, even you're like, oh, I applaud that you have this confidence to be yourself. And I'm like, honestly, I think like at times I'm just so blasé to even realize that I shouldn't be acting the way that I'm acting, because I've never been in a position or have someone beside me telling me, hey, this isn't how we act in this environment, or this isn't what we do. I'm also super comfortable enough, like, doesn't mean that I don't get upset if I don't fit in somewhere. That's just that's just human nature to want to belong to a tribe. Do I hold on to that? Hell no, because rejection is just redirection. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's confidence in using like any past self and using it as strength. So every day I can think of, okay, during fight camp, in the last week, we're not really eating as much food. And I remember my first time going through a fight camp to fight, and I'm still eating. I was still eating, like, maybe it was just like 20 grams of chicken and a boiled egg, and a protein, I'm cut out sugars, I've cut out this, but I was still eating food. And I remember I worked in camp. So I was working for like some UFC camps, some Invicta camps, and I was doing their foods and like being almost like a manager, or like helping to run the smooth like a smooth camp for someone in their fight camp. And I remember like just the huff and the puff that, you know, you'd have to get just to get these fighters to like perform. And then when I was going through it myself, I just remember thinking, these motherfuckers ain't never been poor before. You know what I mean? Like these guys have never been poor. They've never had a parent who's just like gone out on a bender and forgotten to feed their kids for a week. And for that, like I thank my parents, like thank you guys. You molded me into the baddest bitch that there is, and someone who can persevere through like literally anything. And I can say that. I actually had someone the other day, it was a few months back, and they were like, you need to stop telling people about how you were stuck in the jungle. And I thought to myself, why is that, bitch? Because it takes over the room, because it makes you feel uncomfortable about like what's really going on in the world. Like that somebody had to survive that, and you're like crying because Starbucks fucking didn't serve you pumpkin spice and you had to make your own coffee during COVID. Like there's some real fucking shit out there. There's some real things to talk about. And unfortunately, they're not like the nicest. They're not the nicest things to say. Like I've got so much positivity that I can like pump into people. But unfortunately, it comes from just like real moments, and real moments. Like when in human nature did it start to make us like uncomfortable? You know, hey, you can listen to the story. You didn't have to experience it. So how about you like listen to it and learn from it? Like be able to learn from it, so that in your life, if you like learn the lessons through me, so that the life itself doesn't put you through the like game board. It's like for you to fucking pick up the lessons. Because I really truly think like in some universal way, like we all have to get through this weird like obstacle course that the universe like sends us on. And that's why for me, like I even think like your course, like you're meant to help people understand new ways of living, or new ways of approaching money. Or because why? Because you were dirt broke, bitch. You had no money. You were a teenage girl. You were dirt broke, and you get me. Like so now you're in this like living in a different way, and you're trying to like help people understand like hey, I can be financially free and independent, and my money's not in the bank. Oh, okay. You know, I think, our past selves and identities, like, look at me, like on one, I'm all like, oh, 1 second ago. I'm like, oh no, because that's, I don't know, past selves and past identities, like, they form us. And for me, through training, I just get so emotional and just get like so like, oh, it's as if like I'm always in my own music video, because I just keep my headphones on and just stay in my own world, because I love being immersed. I love not overly having to be like, I'm a super chatty person, but I love just being so engulfed in my own self, and getting to train and do all of that. It's like soothing, honestly. Like there's nothing more soothing than just being like, damn, I literally just sparred someone and I beat them up. Zombie apocalypse happens. Guess what, girl? My kill count is going to go up while everybody else is going to be scared, going hungry, and dead.
Oh my God. Wow. That's so
like,
intense.
Oh God, this is why. No, I don't know.
It's incredible.
Life wasn't fun. Life wasn't fun. Life wasn't fun for me. It was fucking shit. I've used all of that to make it good reality. Yeah. You use beatings to make you strong. You use like mental fucking abuse to make you mentally strong. And I think like people should be talking about their stories so they can get better themselves. We're all walking around and nobody's okay, but they're just, everybody's scared to say it. It's like, hey, bro, it's okay to not be okay. Like it's okay. So I don't know. I really think it's important for people to just like talk about stuff. Even me, I hate talking.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing and being just so honest about it. I know that, exactly as you said, like in my life and what's driving me now is the fact that, well, for one, my story, which is like a whole other, like movie, I feel like sometimes, but I'm still connected with my family in Bolivia. You know, like I know you're half Maori. Yeah, I'm half. I'm many things. You know, like Inca and Hungarian and who knows what, who knows what. But it gets confusing. Actually, part Eskimo too on my mom's side turns out. But I'm
I
still
have a question.
connected
Was
with
the
my.
Incas, are they the ones who went missing? Did the Incas go missing? Were the Incas who went missing?
They redistributed into 12 tribes across mainly Bolivia and Peru. But yeah, like the empire was basically destroyed, right? When the Spaniards came and the conquistadores. And so, but like you, and of course you're like, whoa, like next level. But the Incas were scientists, you know, they were athletes. I found out when I went backpacking years ago that the Inca Trail, which leads to Machu Picchu, the heart of the Inca Empire, looks like a spider web from space, and that apparently all the teenagers, and I've always loved to run, you know, all the teenagers as part of like their passive rites, they would have to sprint. They had a communication network, and they would sprint from point to point to point to get to the empire, and that's how they would communicate in the empire. So like and anyway, so I went back and I trekked this. It was like a 3-4 day trek, but they told us that what took us 3-4 days used to take them like half a day. And like, don't quote me exactly, but that's how fast they would just sprint up the mountain. But anyway, I bring this up only because in a way, you know, like I relate to you. It's like both in your spirit, you know, like in your DNA to have this like extreme like fight spirit. Yeah. So that side of me, of like my side in Bolivia, I'm still connected with them. And it's such a reality check. And honestly, because I've definitely been guilty too, you know, like you're just like, go, pursue, conquer, you know, succeed, that you do. And I've been guilty of it, where you feel disconnected, you know, from your past and times.
Yeah.
And that's
sometimes
messed
it's
up.
not even until these moments that I even have to sit back and go, no wonder I get like this like overwhelming feeling. It's because a lot of the times I don't allow myself to even go, whoa, I came from that. You know, and it wasn't even until after my first BKFC fight. I've got Joe Rogan following me. I've got friggin' like all these people I'm interviewing with TMZ. I'm like thrown into this superstardom spot, which I do have to say, thanks to a lot of my fans who said that I remained humble and really held the position that I was thrown into, like with such grace. And at the same time, I thought, really? Okay, I'm doing good from the outside, because on the inside, I am like, have just reached the top of this mountain and I'm trying to breathe and I'm completely overwhelmed. And it wasn't anything to do with that. It was to do with like my childhood. And I thought, okay, I'm here. And I think for me, I thought, cool, we'll get to this moment, we'll get this breakthrough moment, and we're just going to be fixed. And I wasn't. I wasn't fixed. I was like, what have we got to do? But I think it's like just a continuous healing moment. And I think that's why for you, okay, so what was it? Harpo. What was it? What's it called? The medicine you did?
Ibogaine.
Ibogaine.
Oh,
okay,
Ibogaine. Yeah, Ibogaine, but go ahead.
Yeah, so you're doing Ibogaine and Bufo, and I feel like you're in this same thing where you've got this like one little bit just like holding on. And I'm sure, guess what, there's going to be other things at other stages of our life that might like come into play. And when we're 50, when we're 60, you know, like I think there's always going to be like little puzzles that are just like floating around in us for us to figure out when we're at that mature level to be able to pass on to those who are around us and our tribe around us. And I think like even for me, like there's still things that are like holding on. But yeah, I think the more like, we get to like talk about it, the more like people can realize like, wow, people in these high positions, there's normal people. I truly think, okay, like for me, I'm just like adore you. You got to study philosophy, like someone who just like had their little head in the books and got to like really study the things that I feel, you know, like you can put these words to things that I feel. And I'm like, damn, I love that. Cause I get so choked up and I just get lost in everything. But I don't know, like, it's such a hard thing to heal, huh? Like for any of it.
I think I'm still integrating. I was having a conversation like 2 weeks ago, like right around the time that I think you and I met, after Bubby, which we'll get into later.
Bubby!
But Bubby, where's Bubby?
He's been out because we usually go for a motorbike ride, and we didn't get to go for a motorbike ride today. So He's
Oh,
literally tucked himself in. Yeah, I'm talking about you.
his ears. I can see him in the back.
Yeah. He's tucked
What?
himself in, Your Majesty. He's like, me. Oh, this is the level he's at. I now have to hold his food. I'll have to hold
Oh
his
no.
food for him to nibble at, just
Yeah.
because if on the days that I haven't given him as much attention, I know I'm just like, okay, I love you. Okay, one thing, like dogs love us more than they love themselves. Okay, right? Now this is, what they say. So if dogs love us more than they love us, but then they still get us to like do all this stuff for them, how much do they love us? Or are we
Oh,
just the
it's so
dumb ones who are we are we the dumb ones who are like patting their little paws and like going overboard? We're like going overboard.
you wash him with coconut oil.
I do.
His paws. Cute. It was super cute. No, that's so cute. Yeah, no, what was I saying about ibogaine? I think I'm still integrating personally, because you reach a certain clarity when you're on your trip. I know you did ayahuasca,
Yeah.
but then the work still has to be done. Like you're still you, you know. Thankfully, like the neurochemicals in your brain got the opportunity to like reset, but you have like pathways, right? It's brain training, but like in not such a fun way, because you have these bad like emotions that arise when you're triggered, when something reminds you of something you lived through in your past, and you're still very much so you, the current you that's aspiring, that has already like knows how to break through, that knows how to reach and just follow the process, right? I think you more than anyone could probably like talk about that. But it's been true in my life. It's like I know the process. I know I'm not going to quit. I know that it's going to be hard. I know how to like self-soothe myself, but it doesn't matter. Like you're this dichotomy, right? Like you're literally the you that has evolved, right? And then like you were saying, you're still the you though that went through the things that you did, and it's like that's what's interacting all day long. So I think it's also very interesting and beautiful that, and this has been true for me as well, it's being in flow state, it's gravitating on like what you love. Like in your case, it's fighting. It found you. I know I'm like suggesting a lot right now, but also you shared with me like your story. Maybe you could share your story. I know it seems like I'm going in many directions, but I feel like they all connect. Yeah, could you share what your ayahuasca journey was like?
So for me, my ayahuasca journey, and it was similar to you, how like you're having all these different like yous meet like during the ceremony, and then at strange times, like presently, like even down to 2 years, like a year and a bit later, I had moments of clarity from my ayahuasca journey. Now, when I was entering into my ayahuasca journey is when I was still playing American football. I was still playing in the Legends Football League. I was an all-star defense player. I was this famous TMZ celebrity, rocking it in America. Which, hey, in saying that, I actually had no idea, because I just literally stuck to myself. But I finished my yoga course. I did my ayahuasca journey, and it was at a time I was transitioning into fighting, and I was scared. It meant being sucking at something. It meant being the worst, and it also meant like for me coming to terms with, hey, maybe I wasn't this warrior that I always believed that I was, and then going down this path of learning to fight and figuring that out. And I was so scared. I remember being so scared at thinking that I would get into fighting, figure out that I sucked, and be like upset at myself that I wasn't this like warrior fighter. And I think that just comes from like the doubt of being put down like as you're growing up as a kid. And although like looking back, if I could tell myself as a kid, I'd be like, you're amazing, look at what you're surviving on the daily, you beautiful little warrior, but because you're still this hurt person, you're like not even understanding or accepting that you're like really a warrior. And I think I had that, like that was the scary part for me. Now in the ceremony, I remember being in like, I felt like it was a Star Wars thing. I had this cape over. I'm in a room full of like other warriors, and I'm this like, all of a sudden I'm turning and I'm a tiger. I'm like human and I'm tiger, and I'm just like, wow, what the hell? And I remember thinking, what the is going on? I had this scar down my face. I remember it was a scar down my left side. Unfortunately, the scar is on my right hand side. So the ayahuasca definitely premonitioned, but I just had it on the wrong side. Now, when I remember walking to the beach, they just banned us from leaving our rooms in Thailand. They banned us from going to the beach. They banned us from being outside. And I remember just being like, fuck this shit. Walking to the beach and then seeing the cones, like they had it all coned off. Now, when I was walking, I had my hoodie on and this like thing across my face that was a mask. And I'm walking and I literally have this moment where my past self reached my present self and it came together and it's like, you know, like it joins and you're just like this small energy pocket and you're like, whoa. And they both connected. Now, if you think about it, Thailand is actually somewhere where a lot of martial artists go. Now, when I was in my ceremony, I remember shooting through and then just seeing this island below me and shooting like my energy down to this island. Now, it matches up with me in this moment. And I just remember that was a time, it was a scary time. Like COVID was a scary time. Being in Thailand, learning martial arts was a scary time. So yeah, the medicine still spoke then. The medicine is going to probably continue to speak to me for as long as it wants to speak to me because it chooses, you know, the same as mushrooms, the same as like any of that. It chooses. And I do think like, okay, I think if you're coming from like a different sort of background with different sort of like culture, I don't want to sound like racist or anything, but I feel like it works better just because our people have been using it for longer. The same as like alcohol. Okay, alcohol doesn't mix for me as good as what it can mix for someone who's Irish, right? Why? Right. Because the Irish have been drinking since forever. Did they not invent the alcohol? You get me? Like for me, it doesn't work in the same way at all times, but these certain medicines like do. And I remember just realizing and knowing that I would be a warrior. My face was going to be scarred. But I would be sitting in this point where I like had found myself. And I think that's what life is about. I think it's about just finding ourselves, correct? In anything, like everything's a tool. This podcast show is a tool. Speaking with you and becoming a friend is actually a tool. It's also mirroring. It's like everything is a tool. Going to training for me is a tool. It's just about applying like the right tools at the right time. So yeah, ayahuasca is something I think a lot of people should do. I think everyone should be able to find like something that helps speak to them. Yeah. So I actually it was Misha Tate. Now, Misha Tate was holding the 135-pound UFC division belt. Now, I'm in football, and we were trained together in strength and conditioning. And I remember at the time, like, people are so scared to stand beside her. And obviously, they're American, so they understand this person is, like, famous. And people in America treat famous people differently. Now, for me, I remember being like, I'm like, well, she looks tough. Okay, let's pull the hair back. Let's go beside this bitch. Let's get ready. Oh, you think you know, like you're tough. I'm tough. Let's push each other. I'm gonna see if I'm better than you. You know? Yeah. Oh my God. Look at the confidence of me. But I'm at the same time I'm like a Ray Lewis of Legends Football League. I'm an all-star defense player, and this girl looks tough, and I'm gonna see like, you know, let's go. I love that. From there we became friends. I'd always talk to her about football. And yeah, she took me to my first UFC, and from my first UFC show, she told me that I would find a love that I had missing, and she's right. And even through days where I'm crying, or I'm a crybaby. I'm the biggest baby there is, and I don't even care. I'm proud. I'm confident enough to know my emotions and show them to the world. I'm sick of hiding. I don't think I should be hiding anymore. And it's a bit hard, I think now, especially given the platform I'm given. I kind of owe it to people to be brave enough to always just be myself at any time, even if it means I'm having a breakdown. Because guess what, bitches? We have many of them. But I think in being that brave, I think maybe it can show people that we're all really human. And I hope that can kind of like make people feel strong enough to like help fix themselves or talk to someone else, or something. But I remember she at that point in my life, she was a really big influence for me. Misha Tate was a beautiful person. We still speak, but she's a mom now. She's got heaps going on. To be honest, looking at it, I feel like the universe really sends me like really strong, passionate, like beautiful women at the right time, like little like fairy godmothers, all at different stages, and for that stage of my career, and where I was living in Vegas, which is where she was too. She was, that person at that time. She's the person that gave me the confidence to go, you can fight, baby. Like you're a fighter, and then even as of recent, just as I was nearly about to like give up because I had the $120 in my pocket, was Kendra Lust. Now, Kendra Lust is one of the most famous porn stars in the world. And here I am having trouble just because I look like this. So I look like this. People still, they don't know my story. They don't know how hard I've worked. They don't even know that I'm actually the first female electrical contractor of Australia. They don't know that I'm the youngest thermographer of the world or the first female thermographer in the world. They don't know any of these things. They don't actually understand I have a brain. They don't understand that I'm intelligent, that I've worked hard. They just look at this. Now, I got sent Kendra. Kendra literally sponsored me. She's still sponsored me. Her name will be on all of my stuff for this upcoming fight, because she actually helped me to get my coach that I have now to prepare me for what was meant to be the last fight, which obviously it all just rolls into one. But yeah, she came at a time where I also needed just like this confidence boost. I needed someone to like rub shoulders with who's also lived a hard life and had to battle, just different bullshit. And I think we all, as like real true alpha women, we're meant to walk alone predominantly. But I do think along the way, we're meant to have that bad bitch beside us who goes, yo, I believe in you. I'm going to help you. Let's go. And yeah, I've had that from Kendra. I've had that from, I like to call her like my mom, probably my twin, my sister is Leanne. She was a woman that came when I was living out of a car and living in some of the gyms just to go to training. And she gave me a room. Her and her husband built me a room. Like,
Wow.
hadn't had a bedroom in it's such a long time. Even as a little kid, you didn't even feel safe in your own room. And, everything sort of piles up, and these women always come into my life at like the right time. And I think that for Ebony too. I think she came into my life supporting me after my first fight, where obviously she's used to like being in the tabloids, dealing with business. She's super onto it, even down to her inviting me out to train. She can see, like, obviously, one, you don't invite someone into your space unless you see they're on their shit. So I think that's like a huge compliment for me. But yeah, I think even for you, like you're a badass woman. You're a badass woman who's lived a very different life to like how I am. Similarities in like just abandonment. But was it really abandonment when we're the ones that kind of chose to run away? Like really, we're strong to be at that age and go, hey, this isn't right. See you. Like a lot of people's hang around for that. They're also some scary people, because you don't know, if we're willing to do that, then people should be warned. Like we're willing to do a lot of different things to like make sure like our life is good. So in saying that, I think that's probably what people feel when they feel like instantly threatened or intimidated by our presence, is they can feel that we're like no mess about type people. Hell, even for me, I know people be intimidated, but what you gonna do, I guess I carry something really heavy with me, and I can't change that, I can't. People just got to accept it and be encouraged by it. Or I guess maybe for some it's just too heavy for them to be around. And I do get told that a lot. Like oh, love you, like don't talk about it, blah, blah, blah. And I do think to myself, I'm like, oops, yeah, probably maybe an overshare. But I'm just so comfortable that I'm just like, well, but that's what happened. Or they asked, but I don't know. I got asked the other day if I felt like I was an alien. And yeah, I do. I feel like I'm an alien at times,
Yeah.
like you said.
I have a special
Like,
relationship. We do.
yeah,
We
yeah,
do.
it feels like an alien.
Yeah. No, I think that's so it. That's so it. And I think it's like you were saying, you know, because you live in flow state, I think that's what draws all of these, as you were calling, like fairy godmothers into your life. I know that
Yeah,
an inner fearlessness to take a step, even though you're afraid, you know, you were saying that you were afraid when you had your ayahuasca journey that, you know, like later, you know, like maybe like you get this huge like download of inspiration and vision and you see what you're supposed to do, you know, like I see what I'm supposed to do. I see my future, you know, and as you were saying, I see this podcast as the beginning of that. But there is, right, like sometimes there is just that voice, because you know you're aspiring for greatness, you know what you're aspiring to hasn't been done, is so huge, you know, that you can almost feel like the gravity of what's
yeah,
behind, you know.
yeah,
But I think, you know, what I find so inspiring in your story is that, and I know I can relate, is that if you're brave enough just to take that step, not be stuck in your head, and just take that step, you know, because you trust in your ability, as you were saying, to execute. You trust in your fight instincts, that you know you're going to carry, you know you're going to, like, you're not going to fail, you know you're going to do the next thing and the next thing right. But I think that when we're brave enough, and that's what I find so beautiful once again in your story, is that you were brave enough to keep taking these steps. And I think that's when you know you're in alignment, you know, because all of the strategic people and all of the, like, everything just falls into place for you. I think that's incredible. And I think it's incredible that you had these powerful women speak life to you. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, they 100% spoke life into me. No, I heard the other day, it goes, how can you tell when something is like intuition or is fantasy? And it talked about when something is intuition, like you get this battery inside of you that it ignites you to have the energy to like do the things that you do, or to go after like what you go after. But as long as you have the, like you said, that have that brave enough step to like go and do it at the same time. And when you think about it, you're like, you're right. If something's fantasy, it kind of just like fizzles out, doesn't it? You know, but when something is like meant to be, and it helps to create your path, you don't know where you get like the energy from it, but all of a sudden you're just like, ding, like, man, I gotta go.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just curious, where do you see, so you've reached this point, but like, do you see what's next for you? Can you see yourself in like 5 years, 10 years? Like, where do you want to go? Like, what's your goal?
Okay, so I actually had this meeting with first round management, and I said, hey, look, whatever you've done for Paige Van Zandt, I said, let's do that, because she's on your books. I see what you've done. For me, fighting is like it's one platform, but we're using that to projectile off other things. And he said, well, you create the image and we build towards that. And I went, okay, I want to be the first female Wolverine in a Marvel movie. The line went silent. The line went silent, and I was like, and I'm like, well, I'm not budging because you said anything, you know, I'm not budging this silence. Like, I'm gonna push this silence. I'm pushing this silence. And he goes, yeah, I can see that.
I'm so okay with
I'll
it.
sit there all day, mate. Like, yeah, you know, and it's the same silence that I had when I got given the call from BKFC. I didn't believe him. I told them too. I went, fuck off, and hung up the phone. And then, you know, they had to get the owner, David Feldman, to like literally be on this like call, and then to message me personally for them to say, hey, Ty's like really in disbelief that this is like really happening. And, you know, obviously you see that, and then you're like, oh, they could be anyone. And then you look at the profile and you're like, oh, okay, it's real. This is real.
Fine.
Well,
Let's have a
well, guys.
conversation.
Oh, guys, it's so, thanks for calling. You know, like, bring out the happy professional voice.
Complete attitude change, you know?
No, but like, yeah. And I think for anything, okay, for me, honestly, I was a thermographer. Now remember, I'm the first female, I'm the youngest thermographer in the world. Now when I learned this, I'm like, whoa, oh my, wow, I'm so smart. And then, you know, obviously obviously I don't think my vocabulary like really helps me to get across the brain that I have in here, which is fine. I like being undercover. But I was, I was in a really good position, and I was learning, and I love, I love my trade. I love it. Something I can always go back to. Now, jumping from that into, like, at that stage, it was professional football, and we were playing on Channel 7, we were playing on TV, had a good position. But I still meant, like, full dedication, and it still meant leaving full-time employment, which is something, I never wanted to do. I watched my mom, relationship, never around us kids, never feeding us, the emotional abuse, just the torture. I don't know. Do we list things that someone like a mother can do to a daughter, So going through all of that, it was a scary thing to kind of jump from security that I had done for myself, thousands of dollars a week. And you get me? Like, that's a hard thing to leave, but something was still sad, and something wasn't fulfilling in that. Yeah, so I guess I jumped into it because I woke up from a dream. Now, in this dream, I have many dreams. Some I'm like, yeah, Carly, you're gonna get married, blah blah blah. You're gonna do this. Sometimes I can just like tell people, I'm like, no, this and this, it's this, and then literally it happens. And then there's other times where I see it, and it's like we're in this world, but it's like got this black filter with a bit more shine, and I know that that is me in a possible future, like, for myself. I've seen that a lot. And so, yeah, I remember I woke up from this dream. There was a blonde girl with me. It was huge lights, and it was like this stadium was full. Now, at the time, I thought that this vision was football because I was going into football. Obviously, now I'm in fighting, and I understand, oh shit, there's going to be this one fight that is just going to set my life and change my life. And I know that, that's why I jumped into fighting. I know that I jumped into fighting because of a dream. How stupid is that? Like, I left my job because of a dream, like not just a dream, but like an actual dream. So yeah, I remember feeling the emotions. I was like in that position, and I was just crying and happy, and from all of the hard work, and I'd reached the top of a mountain, which I know, which is what I felt in my first BKFC. That was one mountain that I reached, like, we're breathing, I'm in love with life, and then all of a sudden you're like, damn it, this isn't the mountain that I have to climb, and there's more mountains. Dang it. And I know that there's going to be this one mountain that, yeah, I'm in that futuristic moment, and I'm exactly where I need to be, and more at peace and more understanding. And really, like, for all of this, like, yeah, the journey has just begun. In saying that, in the days where I'm not in flow state, I think I learned so much about myself on the bad days too, which I think is important. And people need to process, like, like a sine wave, okay? Like, to create electricity. It's such a strange thing to be in a position like this and be an inspirational person, and then also know where you're like, okay, how do I fabricate or show this story and get it across to people? Like, one, in a PG way. Two, like, there's an R-rated way. Like, we can go down the Freddy Krueger story, if we want, because, like, that's pretty much how I feel like a lot of the stories end up becoming. Like, yeah, I have to see I've seen a lot of the sickest parts of, like, what human nature can do. In saying that, I've also seen and felt some of the most beautiful things that, human nature can do. It's such a balance. But I think the more, like, I get to be around the right people, I know every time I will get to talk with you, I'm probably, we'll dive into more things. You'll have more questions, or know the direction that you'll, like, want to go in, because I really feel like, for some reason, I think you're going to have some amazing interviews with women where you're just going to, like, you're going to find something, find something for your own story. And I think you're going to find, like, these missing keys that, like, I think women as a species, we're different as a species to men. How we become successful women is harder than what it is for man as well. It's not the same. It's actually not the same. In saying that, okay, so I did some research on Lilith. So
Tell me.
So Lilith left Adam because she went with Samuel, who was the bad boy, like angel. And if you think about it, like that makes sense. Like, but in the end, she was known to have been crying and saying, like, really the love of her life was Adam. So Adam and her loved each other, but they could never truly figure it out because he wanted to just have control. So hence why he ended up with Eve. But he was unhappy because he didn't truly love Eve. And she didn't truly love Samuel, but because of her wild spirit, ends up with like this bad boy angel, which you think about it, like eventually you're going to get bored with this average Joe, you know, this average man who's not even being a man because he's getting angry because he just wants to like not allow you to be yourself. And I even started thinking of like that and for successful women, like how hard is it for successful women to like have a boyfriend or a partner because of this whole Black Moon Lilith curse that we have? I think for every alpha, like true little alpha woman, like it can be hard to just be a Lilith because people don't want to accept, you know, people don't want to accept. It's even for me, okay, like I've had every interview like under the sun, and still I have people who would threaten me with like cancel culture stuff just because I'll just say whatever I want. And I even think for that, I'm like, when does this bullshit stop? Like, when does this stop? Like Gary's allowed to be a girl, but I'm not allowed to be an alpha woman? Suck my dick, bitch. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
What's going on?
I know. For those watching, you know, the conversation or like Lilith, this Lilith character that Tai is bringing up, it goes back to a conversation we were having earlier about just the different types of women that exist, right? And I mean, like absolutely, like zero disrespect to all the different like variations of women, because if anything, this show is about showcasing phenomenal, powerful women and their stories, because in many ways we all are similar, you know. And I think, as you know, it's a combination of our biology, obviously, and the way we were raised that makes us different. But I think so many more women would be inspired to be brave, to dream, you know, to speak up against the current culture, or
Speak up.
you know, speak up, you know, take action, be not afraid to be different, you know. And so in many ways,
come together. Like women, we need to come together. This is a war on women. This is a war on women. I think right now men need to stand up and be like, hey, bro, like you're not a woman and we need to protect our women. And I think women need to be like, hey, we all kind of need to band together because now all of a sudden a man is Woman of the Year and a man is winning our trophies. Like, come on, women. Come together.
Yeah, no, seriously, that's the goal. Like that is the purpose of this show is wanting to create a tribe, as you were saying, bringing all women together and learning from each other, you know, and hearing your story, hearing my story. I'll share more as you know, these podcasts continue, just because it is a lot, and it is all quite personal, very extremely personal. And you know, full disclosure, I haven't felt completely comfortable in sharing, just because, you know, not many people can relate, as you were saying. They just can't. They have no clue. And
that's why it's more important to get it out, is because not many people can relate. That's why it has to be said, because you're the only person, you know, you're the only person that has endured all of that, which same as Joan of Arc. Joan of Arc's story was plastered for all of us to see. Now, there was women doing similar things, but she was the one who had the most dramatic, like all of this crazy stuff, and she was brave enough to like go all the way through and get burned at the stake. Like, girl, be burned at the stake.
I'm
just saying that because I'm up here like, I'm gonna burn. Come on, we're burning up here.
No, I hear you. I really do. And like you were saying, you know, like you told me, you know, being able to talk to you does create, for me as well, like a safe space, because it's nice to be understood. You know, it's nice. And that is the hope, you know. I feel like if we can stop hiding, if everyone can stop hiding behind, you know, who they think they have to be to operate in this society, then I think we'd have a stronger community and we'd achieve more, we'd achieve more. Like right now, I think we're all just stuck, like tearing each other apart. We see it like within amongst women, we see it on a international level. Like humanity needs to evolve. And in order to do that, as you're saying, people need to come together. So completely hear you on that. What would you say is a challenge you see in yourself, or what do you currently find challenging that you feel like you're working through or that you want to grow in?
I think I'm controlling my anger and controlling my emotions. I have my emotions, I can feel my emotions, but in certain points, especially like while I'm fighting, that emotion, if it takes over, will control me and it will be the reason that I lose. I also think that emotion and like that charge that's coming from my heart will also be the reason that I win. So, but it's more about me being able to, okay, so for like the first time, I had someone leg kick me while I'm boxing. So we're boxing and they're in my face and they're like, come on. And generally I was that girl who would have just fucking gone for it. But I knew that one, this person's a man and they're just wanting me to like go for it so they can just try and knock me out. And two, this person has just kicked my knee during a boxing round. And even in saying that, there was this voice that came into my head that went, you need to control this anger.
Wow.
And I thought, and I was like, whoa, hey, thanks, girl. I've never heard your voice before.
Oh.
This is future Tai coming and helping me out. So I think, yeah, of course, if I'm having moments like that, then that's where I'm at. I'm learning to, even now in speaking, like before, I would never even be able to say the thing. So even just getting choked up and being like, I'm controlling, I have to get this out. Like I have to learn how to speak about this. I'm, come next year, I'm going to be in America and going to be, I need to get control of this. And I think that's the platform where I'm going to be able to make the hugest difference. People love positive people. People love healers. They don't have, it's a rare species. I need to hone it. So I think right now that's where I'm at. That's my biggest lessons, is just getting present and controlling my emotions. And also, I know it sounds so silly, but I'm just allowing myself to be like, not courted by men, but I'm allowing myself to be like, okay, although I'm talking, just available. And even if it's just talking with a man, it doesn't mean I'm like, okay, we're going to get married, we're going to do this. It's just allowing male energy to actually find me. While before I was just so closed off from any of it that I wasn't in my divine feminine energy. And when I think you're in your divine feminine energy, all of a sudden men will do things for you. Men gravitate towards you, and not in a sexual way, but like all of a sudden it's like you're using your divine energy and then something pops into the head and they wake up and they go, I have to hold pads for this person. Or okay, I have to make sure that this person, I speak with their lawyer. Like for whatever reason, like you're surrounded by the right men when you're like truly just like in your own essence. And I'm trying to like hone more into that. That's what I'm trying to get into that. Just like, controlling my anger. Because, hey, I have so the Emery name is actually, I met this Scottish lady and I was like, I think my great-great-granddad, he was like one of the first to go and like be with the Maoris. And I was like, my name's Emery. I was like, it's Emery. And then she went, oh, yes, Emery. And I was like, can you say that again? She's like, oh, Emery. And I was like, what the hell? Here I am. Oh, my name's Tai Emery. And when a Scottish person says my last name, I'm like, oh, wow.
That's it.
You're right. That's it. I'm changing how I speak. You're right. I need an accent. Now, if I've got Scottish, like a bit of Scottish, it's Māori, so it's pronounced Māori, and native New Zealand, and then Aussie convict. Like, of course, I'm going to be a super loud, passionate person. So I think I also need to decipher between what's anger and what's passion. And then if I've got someone else yelling beside me, telling me to stop being angry, and I know that it's not anger and it's just pure passion and I'm just switched on for war, like that's up to me to just like ignore that person who's trying to make me angry by telling me to stop being angry. Because you never make someone not angry telling someone, hey, stop being angry.
Stop yelling.
Yeah, stop yelling. You know, like in the history of ever, has that ever like worked? No.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. That's exciting. That's so exciting. I can't wait to see what happens.
Me too.
Yeah.
That's why I think I'm excited for London. I've always had this fascination. Okay, so I was at a fight once. I was with Claudia Gadelha. I was working in her camp. She's a 115er for the UFC. And I got to sit in the VIP for the Contender Series. I was watching my friend Julian Rosa, who got his contract back. Woo! And is actually now doing quite well back with his in the UFC, which makes me really proud to have been a part of and get to help out. In saying that, I had this like tall English Irish guy like sit beside me, and I remember just being like, this man is just so beautiful, you know what I mean? And just looking and being like, whoa, he looks like a Peaky, like obviously Peaky Blinders I didn't know existed, but in my head I like imagined them as like this Englishman, like with the little hat. And I don't know, maybe if that's just the energy that this person carries around from their past selves, but that's what I was like, whoa, this person looks like, you know, like a London gangster or something. Turns out that they actually were. So I don't know, maybe my just like senses were calculating something, but I'm like really excited to be back in like a first world. Obviously that's where English, the Oxford Dictionary is created, and there's, you know, gentlemen. It'll be nice to be around gentlemen.
Thank you. That's right. No, thank you. I think that's one of the most like unique aspects, or one of the many unique aspects about you is you're definitely hardcore and like just like just I have no words. Okay, I have no words. We were watching, what were we watching? Some fighting documentary last night, and it was like really visceral. You know, it was like following the fighters. It's like the Arnold Schwarzenegger like diet movie documentary. Super good.
Wow.
I'd recommend you watch it. It was really challenging. Like they're all like vegan now, and super strong. But anyway, like they're following the fighters like in the cage and stuff. And I just thought of you because I was like, oh my God, you know, like before we like actually spoke and stuff, I looked you up on YouTube and I could see you like in the ring and stuff. And I was like, it's one thing to like say, like look at somebody and be like, yeah, this is a fighter, and you talk to them and you can just tell they have like a whole other level of spirit and energy. But it's something else when you see them like really in the ring, you know?
Yeah.
I'd love to come see you fight, but yeah, like wow, like
you will.
Yeah.
Whether
No,
it's London or America.
I'd be like your mom. I'd be like on the side, like go.
Yeah, you need that energy though, because you're like, it's nice because you're like, somebody loves me so much that if I die, they would be upset. You know,
I would go in the ring. I'd go in the ring. I'd be flinging. Like, it would be a problem. It'd be a huge problem. Yeah, it'd be a huge problem. I'd be so angry watching them hit you. I swear, like, yeah. So you're so powerful, but you're so feminine too. So feminine. So I think you're like a really good.
Maybe like the Fifth Element, you know, like did you ever watch that movie in the Fifth Element where she's like really this killing machine but so vulnerable? And I think that of every fighter, I think every fighter is like just this, I always see like this, I just like, I love them as a species of human. I'm proud that I'm slowly getting to realize and accept that I am one as well. I'm glad that I've got like a lot of football conditioning, but nothing beats fighting. Like nothing beats that feeling. Nothing beats this process.
That's amazing.
You know, I lived in the jungle. I lived in America. I lived in Las Vegas. I lived in Atlanta. I slept in gyms. I slept in a car. I went from house to house, from sponsor's house to sponsor's house, lived in my coach's like basement. I lived in my lawyer Michael's house. You know, I've lived in gyms. I found a stray dog along the way.
Bubby.
Bubby, you know, I've met bad people, I've met good people, I've seen true cultures at their rawest. I've had bikies, I've had, you know, every famous person you can think of. it's such a it's such a big life. I can't wait to one day just like really put it down, pen to paper. And yeah, it's a lot, but I think, I think all of us have to figure out like what we are and then just use life to express it.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
We have to use life to just express like all of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so huge. Yeah.
Actually, it's really fierce doing an ayahuasca journey together, to be honest.
I would so do that. I would so do that. Absolutely do that. But I want to do it there,
Me too. Oh, it has to be done. It has to be done.
Maybe we should organize this. I don't know if I think I mentioned this to you in person, or maybe it was in the last time we spoke, but so my partner and I, we've been facilitating ibogaine and bufo ceremonies, just like amongst like our group, our community, because so like not to get all formal, but my background is in crypto. It's in many things: digital marketing, green energy, hemp, cannabis, traditional sales.
Yo, you need to speak like that. Then at least people know where your brain is like coming
where
from.
Where is it coming from? It's honestly a lot. I'm going to include it in my intro. I'm going to like have a proper bio and everything. But the reason I bring it up is because okay, so like previously, I'm actually one of the founding team members of Master Ventures. I'll link everything that we've talked about. I'll link in the bottom, but it's basically crypto venture studio. So we make companies, right? And crypto is the future. It's Web3. And then I had my marketing agency, crypto marketing agency, which I shut down. It's still there. You can look it up, Creative Creed. But I realized it wasn't my passion. I was just doing it because I had like a background in it. I was good at it. Had an amazing team, which is still there. So I'm still absolutely happy to like advise. But that's not my passion, is what I found. Like talking, having meaningful conversations, and that will help us recreate a culture, our culture. We have a passion project called House of Dao, which is basically that. It's bringing together the finest minds, the most powerful, passionate people across all industries that want to be part of building a new decentralized state, nation state. So that's a whole other conversation. But
I would like the application form to be submitted and be under review. No, I'm serious. I think.
I see you as part of the essentially, put it this way, like the people that are going to be on this podcast, starting with you, are people that I see as being part of like the council board or like the round table. Because you bring in your angle, you're a leader and an inspiration, for women and fighters. Just honestly, you're a hero for anyone that's suffered a lot and has had to overcome it, And I think that's the mindset we need for our future, or we just won't make it. Like, we're just not going to make it. So, but the reason I bring all of this up is because we're starting to facilitate ibogaine and bufo ceremonies, and ayahuasca would be next. So maybe this is something we organize on a larger scale, and we can do later. I know.
There's people who would jump in on that, even if we were to do a tour group. Like, we're speaking about this now. Anyone who's like listening, drop a comment to either of us, get in contact with either of us. This is a real thing. I know for a lot of my followers, like, it's been really good on Twitter. They just like really love to talk back. And, someone was like, "You like astrology?" And I was like, they're like, "You don't need that to figure yourself out." And I thought, okay, so you're not using astrology. Have you ever read anything like growing up? Like, what did you study? And they were like, "Oh, I really like war books." And I went, well, your war books is somebody else's astrology in figuring out, like, for you, you have a hero's like complex. You are, you're learning about war. It means you're also someone who likes strategy. You like logic. So boom, like you're learning about yourself through liking something. And through not liking something too, I hope, even for me, I'm a lot for people. Okay, so what doesn't resonate with you? Why do I piss you off? Like, figure that out. Whether you like something or don't not like something, you learn from it. You learn from it. You learn from it, and you learn about yourself. Why did I not like it? Was it just because it wasn't so easy, or it wasn't good, or my belief system or morals don't align with that. I don't know. I think a lot of people would want to come with us if there was like, I don't know, you definitely want to cap it at certain things. And I think you'd want to do like an application form sort of thing as well, because you got to remember other people's energy is going to like affect yours in the ceremony. Now, during our ceremony, we had it, everyone was in white. This is sounding cultish, but everyone was in white. It was all pillows on the ground, and we separated the room. So one half was the women, and then the other side was the men. Now, the ones that was like where the woman and man was, they were a couple that had come together. So, of course, it makes sense for them to be that joining point, because they were just, you know, pure love. They're strong, you know, they'd done ayahuasca ceremonies individually. I think it was like their third one together. And so that was kind of like this nice little like meeting point, you know. For me, I chose to go beside that woman because I'm a protector. So I now looking back, I'm like, of course I would go there, because if one of the guys was getting creepy, I'm the person who'd be like, back off, bro. Like, I've fought on more drugs before.
I can still move, don't worry.
I've
not
fought
stopping me.
on much more drugs. But yeah, I think that's like the types of communities and people like you want to build from. Oh my gosh, I'm having visions. I feel I'm going to send you some podcasts after, and I think like you and your partner are like the crypto version of this couple. I'm not going to say them because people should listen to this podcast instead.
Thank you for keeping them focused. No, that's awesome. That's so awesome. I think so many things, but I think that your future is I'm just going to want to be watching like what happens, you know, like what happens next for you. I have a feeling that your fight in the UK is going to be huge for you. I know you had that dream you were talking about where there was like two blondes and like stadium lights. I think that, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story, your mindset, everything. I think that, she hopped off. Hopefully she hops back on. Stay tuned. We are going to be very patient and wait for her.
Yeah, I'm actually super paranoid with that stuff, but my coach got me to download, it was like a streaming thing, and it never worked. And after a bit I realized, I'm like, that's how you get hacked, is by opening links, downloading something. I couldn't find the software anywhere, and I was like, just because when I open my phone up, sometimes the screen is in a different app opened in a different message, which means that someone has yes, which means that somebody has access that while my phone's off, they can understand. And I'm like, that's how I'm like, not that it would be my coach, but I'm just like pinpoint where I'm like, why is someone reading my messages? Like, and how do I get rid of that?
Yeah.
Because that's strange to literally open the phone and, you know, and have messages. Like, it doesn't do that. Not when you've closed out and reopened the messenger and it's in a different message opened up. That's
that's very strange. I'll ask some of my friends that are in like some pretty like intense cybersecurity.
Like obviously level. I would pay them, but it's getting like I'm getting to a level I need to like.
You need that's scary. That's scary. They won't charge you. Let me just ask like for more, just like more detailed or like what to do, right? Because like on a computer you could call spyware, but like on your phone,
because it's safety too. It means like, hey Jessica, I'm coming back to Phuket with Bubby. Like, let's meet up at this address. And that's all it takes, you know. Yeah. And then either I've had one thing that like I've always had trauma, but one of the case when I was like getting famous my first time. So I've been famous I've been on and off famous. Like relevance is key. Like I've been famous since I was 18 or 19, just because I was in magazines. Hi, but my relevance is obviously always like gone in and out, dependent on the jobs. I've always felt like I'm still like killing it in my own world because obviously I was an electrician and stuff. Now, when I was in magazines, I had one fan. They pulled. We have these like old Queenslanders, and they're like on stilts. And I lived in my boss's like house beside them because I was a domestic apprentice electrician at the time. And this person had pulled the palings off the side of the house, crawled in under, and now these are wood floors, so there's gaps in the floors. Now, someone was living underneath my bedroom and watching me. Now, I was addicted to working out. I would do yoga. My sister would come in my room and I'd fallen asleep like doing yoga poses, which means that this person is like this far from me.
Oh my gosh.
My boss's family, they heard someone on the like walking on the outside patio. They said that their dad, like, so Ian Druitt, literally jumped from his balcony. Now he's a big, tall, like he's a giant alpha man. I bless that man. He became like my dad, you know, like not a dad, but like just like my best friend, hard worker, taught me like the grind as a domestic house electrician. They said he jumped from the house, raw, like a gorilla, landed on that and chased this predator. Now he ended up being a guy that faked his own like asthma attack, because every Sunday I would do the same run from my house out to the marina, which is where I learned like, okay, my biggest downfall is I have a timetable, you know, people can learn your timetable. It's not hard. But yeah, so I had this person living underneath my house. And then they would follow me when I would go get groceries. And then when I was living up in Cairns, I was an electrician. That's when I was an electrical contractor. I had this person had followed me and was hiding in the cupboard. They had been hiding in the cupboard. So not only did they need to traumatize me by living underneath my house, my bedroom, they then followed me living in the cupboard, like living in a cupboard, like up above sort of thing. Now I had my creepy. Now I was with my best friend, Matt Parker at the time. We would always, like, he was a hunter, a spear fisherman, pig hunting, like, you know, and I'd pig hunt with him. And then one night he's like, I'm getting these messages and he just starts flipping out at me. And I'm like, look, I have to tell you something. I'm like, because, you know, it's our safety. And then he starts flipping out. You know, obviously he's flipping out. He goes and gets the spear guns and stuff like this. And he's like, I'm going to do a perimeter check. He goes outside. I get a text message and it goes, he shouldn't have done that. Or like, he shouldn't have gone out there. And, you know, you're just like, oh my God, obviously this person never hurt me. I'm here. But this person loved to torment me. They loved to just watch and you know, now I grew up like in a lot of abuse, and a lot of the abuse happened when I would go to sleep. So I think like this scar has like carried through. And so sometimes I don't sleep so well. Hence why I have my dog Bobby, because I need to be able to be just like, give me an alarm. Like, and you've seen Bobby's ears. They are so big, like little bats, like nothing's getting past his ears. Yeah, so I've had just like strange things. And I could handle it because really my childhood abuse was just, it was sexual, it was emotional, it was physical, like cigarettes being put out, like just the sexual abuse from like the family circle and the family circle of friends. You know, you really learn to just like keep your mouth shut and just like be that kid that never spoke and be quiet and, you know, deal with it in that way. Because you start to learn, you think, oh, this doesn't happen to the other kids. Okay, I'm a piece of shit, you know, like obviously I deserve this. And then that kind of carried, like as if it kind of carried through to like all this later stuff, which obviously now I realize I'm like, no, I wasn't. I was really, you know, I was a good girl. Now I'm a naughty girl, but a good woman. How times have changed. Thriving. But yeah, so like I don't know, I think of like just these crazy stories, and I think because all of that happens, that's why, like when you said you met me, I'm at Michael's now. This is what, a $10 million mansion in Phuket that's on this cliff face. Everything's like this granite. Michael is the like, oh my God, I have so much love for Michael. I would go to war for Michael. I've told Michael that when he will never pass away, because when he does, I will just get his brain and like put it in one of these tubes where he's like just like alive forever, just because he has one of the best minds I've ever met. Like, how is someone at that age still just like on, like he's on with everything. And so, yeah, I it wasn't really until speaking with you, I went and like really looked in the mirror after, because I thought, cool, I wonder if she's like looking at herself and doing some of the same things. And I thought, of course, maybe in some ways, but I really did look at myself with my crazy hair, and I thought, Tai, you were walking around a $10 million mansion where they're serving like endless supply of wine and catering, and you were in a shirt, and I was like, I was kind of disgusted in myself, but at the same time, I wasn't, because I thought, okay, cool. Well, if I can like hold, and then, it comes back to like the fighter presence. And I thought, cool, I'm in this $10 million mansion with crazy hair and just a t-shirt, while everyone else isn't like completely done up. Like some people were in gowns. Some people wear gowns. And I actually would have loved to have worn a gown, but I didn't own one. And I'm sweating, and I'm going to jump in the pool, and I'm definitely going to sink some free wine. And I'm going to probably take my shirt off. So
I thought it was a party.
Yeah, I'm the party now. No. But I look back at that and I thought, yeah, I love that. It wasn't an excuse. Like, I love how Michael's like, oh, she's a fighter, and it wasn't never, it's always in such a proud way. Like, he's so proud, but I know it's also him, because I know people can feel that I'm a different person, they're kind of looking, and he can feel that they're looking at me going like, like, is this a tiger or is this an antelope? Like, what species of animal is this? And then Michael's like, she's a fighter. I know him. And I kind of like, I looked at myself in the mirror and I thought, maybe we really, really are wild. Like, and I think all this crazy stuff that's ever happened to me, like not having role models, doing it on my own, having to work and just be like, well, we're going to get through school, and working and just having this like head down aspect, really like has helped to just keep me not normal, like the alien, keep myself as the alien.
You're free
in a lot of ways. Really, we've got my own chains, but I think we all break free of them eventually,
you're aware of them, which
of course,
which is already like says a lot, but I think you're free in all the ways that most people like suppress and like hold themselves back. I know I find talking to you very like refreshing and inspiring, because like that's my spirit, it's just but I pretend.
I know, I can feel it in there. But that's why I'm like, come out and play with me. Come on. You will. I know it's coming.
Yeah. No, I know. I'm just trying to appeal to the masses. So
it's okay. You can appeal, because you'll get us into places with your like sophistication, and then I'm gonna stand on all the tables and get us the free everythings.
I'll get us in, and then I'll put you on the table. Go Tai.
Excellent.
I can't control her.
She cannot. Never will.
I don't know. She won't listen.
But in case you need to, here's the whip.
No. Let them touch you. No. I think it's so funny. It's so funny.
Do you think for you, like you obviously were a wild woman. You were like a wild woman, like in your own ways, you're like a wild woman. Not that you need to be domesticated, some to say, but like leaving a house at 15 and doing all these things. I think because one, your head was in a book and you got to like study, that helps to like fine tune, like, a rough diamond in, I think books really like help to like chip away and make something into a beautiful like statue, so to say. But when you got your guy and like your love, your man's, your husband, do you feel like you had to go through like a phase of almost domestication, because you didn't have like, you'd grown up in such a strange, like, what do we say? Is it a priest's home? Like,
oh my God.
like
Yeah.
you almost have to be like rewired.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah, it's so funny because like the babe, as I call him, my partner now, um, he'll like laugh sometimes and he's like, are you being like a good domesticated honey? You know, because I'll like go prepare food, you know, or like I'm like all I can say is yes, like finding Kyle, like finding my partner brought out this immediate, I think you were saying it earlier, like this immediate super feminine domesticated side where the nurturer, you know, like I just wanted to like take care of him, and all of a sudden I speak in a very soft way. I mean, as it is, I don't yell, like I can't project super loud, but I'm definitely not and have not been like the super docile sweetheart, you know. That's not been who I've been, but he definitely brings it out of me. But yeah, I think like right when I met him, wow, like that was a different Jessica. I think I've gone through like at least 5, maybe 6 now with the last one with Ibogaine, like deaths and rebirths, you know, like total resetting,
Yeah.
a whole personality shift, went through like a
Wow.
lifetime. I feel like it's been like 5 lifetimes, you know, that I have lived. And every single one what like completely shaped me, like destroyed me, shaped me, and like pruned me, you know, like made me develop like different aspects of myself. But right before I met him, I was in like go, like cutthroat, survive kind of mode, because I had just come out of this like really just like horrible, like financially abusive, psychologically and like extremely manipulative relationship. And I pretty much just left with like me and my 2 dogs. I was in Texas at the time, and I just like took off to DC with a friend of a friend, because I was like had this huge falling out with my family, because we've been on and off. Like I left home at 15 because for many reasons, yeah, mainly it kind of all crashed and burned when my father beat me because he found out I had a boyfriend, and we were from this super religious home. I know you know a little bit more about it. I don't know if I've shared everything with you, but yeah, like my parents were ministers. My father, like double PhD theologian. I grew up in seminary with him. They did a lot of missions work in Bolivia, which is why I'm half Bolivian, half American. But like, so always, you know, my father and my family, like my father was like the godfather of like the whole church community, you know. He was extremely respected. And that's why we were like, that's why I was like always been this kind of like mini like adult, you know, like talk right and like greet everybody, and like really they even taught us like connect with people. Like when everyone walks in the door, you're responsible, they used to tell us. Like they need to feel at home, get them something, like make them comfortable, introduce them to other people. Like that was ingrained in us, you know. But all of this to kind of say like, yeah, you know, half Latino. So we were raised to like, you know, like know how to serve a man, basically, right? Like I'm one of 4 girls, and we all had to take care of my dad. And my mom was this like redhead, fiery, Swedish German, you know, lady. And so she was like not going to be tamed. But yet she had also, interestingly, even though she's Swedish German, she had grown up around Mexicans, Mexicanos, because her parents worked in like in missions work in Mexico. So she's a Swedish German, but also grew up in Mexican culture. So we were definitely raised to like know how to pamper and treat like a man, like make him feel like a man, because I think that's what makes them.
I think that's important.
Yeah, it's important. And I don't think, you know, like I'm an absolute diehard, like be powerful. You don't have to tone yourself down just because you're a woman and you're in the presence of a man. But I do agree that there is, like you were saying, there's like a divine feminine that can be powerful, but doesn't have to be a man, you know, or feel intimidated. I think that's kind of where it starts. Like we don't need to keep, you know, going over the same thing again and again and again, feeling victimized as women, although so many women are victimized. I'm just saying that once you free yourself of that, I think, you know, it's the power of the mind. Like you can choose to have a different conversation, reframe like your reality, and just speak, you know, like, you know, what I love of you, and what I think so many people admire in you or feel intimidated by, is that you just speak. You don't care who's there, you know. And I think that's what it is like you can be powerful, but also be feminine, and just kind of like bring it all back. Like, yeah, you know, my current partner, my love, definitely brings that side out of me. You know, and that's what was that was what was rekindled when I met him, was all of a sudden, yeah, like the super like badass, go, 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 just, you know, just keep going, make it, like just keep pushing yourself, was able to like relax too. And I think that's what a good man does for you.
Yes.
If you can relax in their presence, like that says a lot. Like that should be an indicator to you. You know, they should make you feel calmer. But yeah.
Do you like, I always say, like, the girlfriends always come to me for relationship advice, and I've been single for 10 years, which, so I don't understand, but obviously it's because I give blunt advice, you know,
Yeah.
and I can't keep my opinion to myself. But one thing, like, they're always like, oh, he's this and this and this. And I'm always like, okay, it's cool. You obviously like him. So I don't know why you're asking me this, because you like him and you're going to go for it. But, like, do you like the you that you are when you're with him? Like, because we're adaptable. Like, we're women, we're adaptable. But we turn into something when we're with a man. Like, we turn into something else. So you want to be a she demon? Do you want to be insecure? Or do you want to be your greatest self, you know? Or do you want to be someone's mom? Like, all of a sudden you're with a man, and do you like the you who you get to be, like, when you're around him? You know, like, some dudes I'm like, yeah, cool, we get along, but I would never let you date me. I wouldn't, like, you know, you completely frustrate me, and that's not the woman who I want to have to act out and be for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I think about that. Maybe that's probably my problem, is I hang around so many dudes, and like instantly I'm like,
Right, you already
no,
know who they are. Yeah, you can
I
see
hate
them.
me. I hate me
Yeah.
right now. I hate
Yeah.
you. But no, I think you're also right. Like, I like when you get to, like, just, yeah, be switched on back into the feminine. I also love that, like, in your culture, I think right now, like, that's what's kind of lost, is all of a sudden women are like, we don't need to serve no man. And you're like,
Yeah.
it's not we're not serving them, but we're nurturers. Women
Yeah.
are nurturers, and doing, like, making their little food and making them feel like a man. Guess what? When we make them feel like a man, they make us feel like a woman.
Yeah. That's
So
right. Yeah,
it's
exactly.
not all the time we're like, I'm not doing this, and you're like, well, okay, Olivia, like, sorry,
Yeah.
Olivia. I pulled that name out of nowhere. I don't even know an Olivia.
I don't have a friend named Olivia.
Sorry. That's probably why I said, I was like, what name can I say that will not have anybody come back and be like, bitch? No, but I don't know. Yeah, we can get more out of them. See, like, for me, I need to know that, because you're from, like, a religious, like, upbringing. That's such a harder thing to drop, because it's on belief. And guess what? We still believe in something. You know that there's still something greater. Whether, you know, maybe you don't want to use that Bible to explain it, but you still know, and through even using the medicines, you still know that there is something greater than ourselves. We all know it. We all know there's an untangible something, like an energy, even when you have intuition, or when you walk into a room and you're like, oh, someone's been fighting, like, used to a fighting. Like, even that, like, there's an X factor, is a magic. You know, like, something magical. I don't know what words to use, because we can use a million different vocabularies, but there's definitely a greater source or a greater God, but there is only one. And I think that one is what the Muslims feel, what the Buddhists feel, what the Catholics feel, like Christians feel. It's all the same. There's definitely one thing, like, driving that. And I was asked the other day, someone was like, oh, are you religious? And I had to say, hey, look, like, yeah, in some way, but I don't know whose name I would put to it.
Yeah.
But in the deepest and darkest moments in my life, like, okay, flashback, I'm in the jungle, I'm vomiting, and I haven't had food, and my country says they won't come and collect me to save me. Or when I'm a little girl and I'm getting abused and I've ran away, like, and I'm just, like, sitting in the rain, because I just would rather sit in the rain than be at home. and you have these moments and all of a sudden you're like, please help me. That's like means that, hey, deep down you believe in something greater. Like,
Yeah, that you're connected with something greater.
to something
Yeah.
greater.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
That's
for me to hear like, okay, you had like these transitioning phases, I think, okay, cool. Well, if she can do it, I can do it too.
Yeah.
I'm ready to be
Yeah.
in love. No, but like, I don't know. I think that must be hard for like, for anyone to like have different upbringings and then still like transition into the stable life. Well, not the stable life, but you know.
Yeah, find your new identity, you know, find who you are. Like it's like what you were talking about earlier. It's having enough awareness, which usually comes with experience and a desire, right? To have a good life and own your life, which forces you to like just think about your life, which brings awareness. Can bring you to a point where you can just see, and that's where plant medicine really helps, because you can see your life from a third person perspective, and then you can see your future, you know, from an aerial view. And that helps because sometimes we get stuck in our reality and like we don't know what's black, what's white, what's up, what's down, because we're just stuck, you know. And that's why people like talk to friends like, help me, you know, because I can't see right now. And but I think that, you know, when you can take a step back and like observe your past life, what you were taught to believe, what your experiences were, and you realize and you just connect dots, you know. That's what, if I feel like if I'm good at anything really, of all things, is I connect dots and I ask for clarity from this higher source, you know, God, or, you know, the universe or cosmos. I ask for clarity and getting out of my head, and you can do this through plant medicine too, and asking for awareness and clarity on what you're seeing, you know, and making sense of your past life, what you were taught to believe, and being able to choose and make your own identity. Like this, yes, this, no. This, I think people are just arguing about like different words, right? Like it's Allah or it's God or it's source or it's whatever. But I think that's exactly right, you know, and for me, I did that and I continue to do that. And you know, it's hard. Even as I'm talking right now, I think about my family that might be listening to this, and they're die hard. Like I'm not from a normal family on my mom's side. You know, like my dad's side was like the shaman, medicine people, Inca descent. You know, my grandfather even went dark at the end, and so there's stories that like, yeah, he went dark as a shaman. But my mom's side, there's like at least 3 generations, I think. And definitely like all the brothers and sisters and the children, they're ministers. They're like they're not even just regular religious people. Like they're the people you see on TV that are like rebuking demons, and they're evangelicals and they're screaming and they're speaking in languages. My mom is actually a healer. It's powerful, you know, and like they're watching this, and you know, I got actually like, they're
watching this and they should realize that you're actually, you've turned out exactly like them. You're just doing it to a different social group and doing it in a different way. You're literally holding ceremonies for your community. So you probably don't even, have you realized like you've actually turned out exactly like them?
just like
what?
Yeah, no, it's true.
You're helping in a different way, and because people need strong shaman blood. People need those people who aren't afraid enough to preach, and you aren't afraid enough to preach like at all your beliefs, and you're just really, it's a new world, you know. And guess what? If people are praying at the moment, I think people are praying for money. Like people are praying for that financial freedom. People are praying for like different things, and you're speaking to different people. Like,
no, that's so everything. Thank you for bringing that up, because that's actually wow. So of all the projects that we're working on, one of the projects, I did their branding and I can link it below, but it's called Commonwealth. Like the British Commonwealth, which is funny because you're going there. But if you Google it, Commonwealth, I think it's Commonwealth io.io. It's a project that basically is a project for the 99%, you know, like wealth is reserved for like that top 1%, you know, and like all their methods, you know, how to invest in funds and how to hedge and like all these things. It's not taught to regular people. you know?
No.
And especially right now with like the collapse of like all the economies, what's happening in the world right now is they're trying to remove the power of the US dollar because it's corrupt and the Fed just keeps printing money, devaluating our money, and it's putting people in like just completely like broke situations, desperate situations. And then they're going to roll out basic income for all, which, you know, I think they perverted the original meaning of it, but they're linking it now with your digital identity linked to the digital dollar. And so what's coming next, and I'll link it also below, but my partner Kyle, his channel, he talks about this all the time. But basically what's about to happen is they're pushing people to a point of complete desperation to where they're completely broke, have no money. And then they're going to be like, ta-da, you know, you can have, we're going to start giving basic income for everybody, $3,000, $5,000, whatever it is based on your family. And you can get it for free, but you have to register you have to register on this site. And they pretty much, by doing that, watch, you're going to end up giving access to where you are all the time. So you're afraid of being hacked and followed. Like they're going to be on your device. Okay. They're going to know where you are all the time. They're already hearing everything that we say, but now it's going to be like just on a known explicit level. They're going to give you money, but they're going to control your money. So in the same way they can give you money, they can take it away. They can lock you down. You become a disobedient citizen, like during COVID, and you go protest. Guess what? They have your face on the cameras. They have your ID. Block. You can't use your debit card anymore. Who cares if you have 3 kids at home? Like that. That's what's coming. So they're about to position themselves in this way to just completely like it's awful. Like it's literally like just horrible. It's what's about to happen. But anyway, the beautiful project that we're working on, and it's actually like, if you go visit the site right now, it's already starting to come to market, to sale, is Commonwealth. And basically what it does is it's a decentralized project that it's a decentralized fund. So now the everyday person, you don't even have to know about crypto. You can use your credit card. You just go to the site. You can now buy into these funds. So I don't know if people know what that is, but it's basically like a collection of companies, of good companies that you want to buy into and get a piece of, kind of like a mutual fund. But mutual funds are for projects that are on the secondary market and you're buying it at an extremely high price, right? So your rate of return is going to be like 2-3%, not very much, like a bank, like whatever your bank gives you, kind of like that, right? Except you're getting that on a large pool of projects, of companies. But what's different about this project is that you get in, you're getting into the best companies, the best project, that's what we call them in crypto. But you're getting in at the price and at the opportunity, investment return opportunity that only the 1% of the world usually gets. So you're looking at like 5 times your money return, 10 times your money return. Sometimes it's like outrageous. It can be like 20% your return. So like a measly like $5,000 investment, which is a lot, you know, but like in the investment world, usually like in order to get into these opportunities, usually you have to have like at least $1 million, $500,000 just to get in the door. And so I know I'm going on and on about it, but this opportunity is huge because it gives the power back to the people and it allows anybody. You can have $20, you can have $50, you know, if you want to put it into an opportunity to make you 5 times the return, you know, make at least 10 times the return, which actually is going to make a lot more than that. Because in crypto, you make a lot more. Like it's riskier because it's new and it's like this whole new, like just complicated techie world. But this is simplified. And it's so powerful because it really just gives everybody the opportunity to make money and make a lot of money. So it's huge. It's tremendously exciting. And that's what, you know, both my partner and I were like so excited about, Kyle and I, and our whole community here. And that's why kind of going back to like medicine, this natural like plant medicine is that's what we're starting to host ceremony, but for like, you know, like all these like crypto nerds, you know, and they have these huge visions on changing the world, you know, but sometimes you get stuck in your head and so this gives them that opportunity to break free, you know, and like see what they're supposed to do and why, and give them that like passion, you know, like that fire to just go do it. But anyway, I feel like I could talk to you forever, just keep going. But no, it's beautiful. Like it's amazing everything you're doing. And I think you're going to do huge things. I think you're a role model and you're going to continue to grow into that more and more.
I feel it more as of late too. I even just, I think speaking with you and I think someone else was like, they're like, dude, you're a superstar.
Yeah.
Be it. and I was like, oh, I guess, whoops. I guess we just never we always feel like not like that little girl, or I don't know, we just maybe the identity like of who we've held on to, and I think we never lose them. Or maybe I'm just scared to like, I've always been scared to turn into an asshole, which I don't think is possible. But I think you can definitely get lost in all of this. And yeah, like I think I mentioned, like I hadn't been doing a lot of podcasts or interviews just because I needed to like have that breather and be at that peak. And then I think that's when I started to realize, I was like, wow, I think it's through these podcast shows and these interviews that I actually am taking the moment to think about like who I am. And like they ask me questions that I have to be like, whoa, well, blah, 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 and have to go back into my own memory of like things that I've experienced or lived. And yeah, I started to see the importance of sharing. And I think that is, yeah, one of my greatest superpowers is that I don't think before I say, or I'm confident enough to just, hey, I don't care who you are. G'day, mate. How you going? Like what football team you follow? Righto, you know, like, and I think that there is a power in that. Hey, if that's the hero people need, well, someone's got to be it, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's who I think you are. Watching your when I was doing research on you before we spoke the first time, I was really taken back, and I was so proud of the fact that, you know, because of course, and we didn't talk about it, but like when you flashed your titties right after you won, which I
rated as hell, bitch.
Like coming again. No, I remember being so pleased when you were interviewed again and again by all these men, and literally like zero hard feelings. I'm not hating on them whatsoever. I know they're doing their job and they're asking very good questions, you know. But they kept asking you like if you were doing it for attention, or, you know, did you feel like all these questions, you know, that, but the way you responded, you were just, for one, you didn't drop, you were just shining, and you were just like, you could just tell that you were projecting your energy, your power, you were excited, and you would just like, you know, like you didn't flinch, like you would just like completely just say what was what, you know, and you would just like you weren't flinched. And the reason I guess I keep bringing that up is because for a lot of women, especially like the feminist women, right? The ones that like think they're strong, and they are strong, maybe they are strong, you know, but like, I feel like when you and I talked about this, like sometimes you emphasize the problem or the fact that you feel like a victim when you keep fighting for that right, you know? And so that's kind of my issue with feminism. And I don't even have a complete issue, but I just think that there is no issue. Like, you are equal. You don't have to be out there like, you know, being horrible or being on the defensive mode because you feel like you're being attacked, because who cares? Like, you don't have to prove anything. Like, you're completely powerful and you have the right, like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be defensive about it. But I feel like,
I love that they thought that it was for attention. I'm like, it's not for attention. I think for one, the sheer fact that that's what got your attention just shows like where we're actually at. I think it's just funny how, I don't know, people can be liberated and be a cheeky little bugger and do things for their own self-expression, you know? It wasn't even thought of. It wasn't like a thought. It just flowed. I remember, it was just flowing. And even when I watched like the replay, it took me a bit until I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, I was already poking my tongue out. Like, I must have known that I was doing it as I'm climbing this thing, because as I'm climbing the ropes, I'm like climbing.
We need a picture of it.
I'm like, that's an animal. I just became my own self. Like, unfortunately, I am my own animal, and that's, you know, I just went straight into my own like Thai nature. What are you going to do? What is people going to do about it?
Yeah.
I'm not even allowed. Like, I'm literally like have been banned from ever, like they've said, you're not allowed to do that. And I'm like, hello, have you seen the internet? Every hot girl is now flashing her tits, making out with some girl on stage. You know, I get tagged in so many things where people are like, hey, they're copying you. And I'm like, and I just always reply, you're welcome, world. Like, you're welcome.
I did
now
it for you.
Now we have more titties out there. Woo! You know, like, good on us. Look at us go. But no, a lot of it they kind of laughed. All in all, like, it turned out for the best.
Yeah. No, you're brave. No, you're brave. You're fierce. I think it's hilarious, but I love it too. Living vicariously through you.
Rebel life.
Yeah. I love it. I hate to do it, but I think we're gonna cut it. We're gonna cut it here. Definitely resume soon. I'll be following you closely, and I'll be waiting for the bubs. I love you.
Love you too.
I think you're shiny. Just keep doing you. It's beautiful. Honestly, it's beautiful to see. So, yeah,
Thanks. I need the encouragement.
yeah. No, I love you. I think you're so bright. Yeah, just yeah, keep going. But I send you a huge hug.
Bye.
Bye. That said, it's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed today's episode with Tai Emery. I know I did. There's so much to always talk about with her, but we'll just reserve that for future episodes. Stay tuned. Please follow me on Twitter, Instagram. I'll link those things below. All of the projects, references mentioned throughout the podcast will be linked below as well. And I would just strongly encourage you to check out Commonwealth, a project that, as I was sharing, is really close to my heart because it's a project that gives back the power to you, to the 99%, to including myself, people that have been left out of wealth opportunities for generations. And finally, the tables are turned, or are turning rather. And this project is that's what it's all about. It's about giving the everyday person the opportunity to invest in lucrative crypto projects in a transparent way. So you can check out more about that in the link below. And with that said, I'll catch you guys next time. Much love.